And the camp which sprung up in the south and saw 2 million soldiers go off to war. Now, nearly 100 years ago, a huge army camp sprang up on the outskirts of Winchester to house troops heading for the First World War battlefields. It's estimated that some 2 million Allied soldiers passed through the Morn camp, one of the biggest in the country. It covered a vast area just to the east of the city, either side of the road to Alresford. It occupied land on Magdalen Hill, Winnell Down, Avington Park and Morn Hill itself. At any one time, around 50,000 troops were stationed there. The camp's role is now being commemorated in an exhibition in Winchester, and local historians are hunting for more information about the huge camp and its importance during the Great War. Steve Humphrey has the story.
It's now rolling countryside and a butterfly conservation area. But in 1914, these fields were transformed into a huge army camp.
Was amazing. The size of the undertaking up here, I mean, if you look away in the distance, it was almost as far as the eye can see. Enormous.
At first, the troops were accommodated in tents. Then came wooden huts, but it was muddy and bleak.
The main reason for it being here was a transit camp because of the proximity of Southampton. And Southampton, of course, was one of the major ports, if not the major port, for the British Expeditionary Force going to France.
The camp near Winchester was so important to the national war effort that there were a series of royal visits, this one by Queen Mary. An insight into life in the camp comes in the letters of Jack Chappell, a soldier in the London Rifle Brigade. He'd been wounded in a previous battle and spent time at Morn Hill before returning to the front line. Jack survived the war.
He wasn't terribly impressed with it, but he was an 18-year-old, so he wasn't going to be very impressed with anything. I think he was glad, he'd rather have been here, I think, than carrying on at Ypres, where he had been previously before he came here. So they seemed to spend a lot of their time playing football, and they seemed to break them a lot, so he was always asking for another football or more sports equipment, just to keep the men happy, I suppose.
Just one of the camp's original timber buildings survives. It's just off the A31 and has been renovated over the years by the South Coast Fencing Company. To commemorate the history of the camp, an exhibition is now being staged at the Discovery Centre in Winchester. Amongst those who've contributed to the research are Year 9 pupils at King's School in the city.
See how many people it was. There was obviously a lot.
What surprised me was how many people came through Winchester, and there were 50,000 troops that in one time in the camps. And compared to how many people lived in Winchester at the time, it was quite a big number of people.
It's nothing that you would necessarily notice straight away that all that was there.
The scale of Winchester's contribution in the Great War has come as a surprise to many people. There are now plans to put up a permanent memorial on the site of the army camp. Steve Humphrey, BBC South Today, Winchester.
It is fascinating, isn't it? And if you have a story to tell about your relatives going through the camps at Morn Hill or indeed elsewhere in the south, do drop us a line, let us know. You can always email us at south.today@bbc.co.uk. It'll be great to hear from you in any of those stories.